Aisab, can we begin? Okay, over to Rabia.
Yes,
We're ready to go?
yes, we are ready to go. We have participants already online,
All right.
so we are ready to go.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. I'd like to warmly welcome all of you to the warm environment and climate of Karachi. This is a curtain raiser for the upcoming conference. It's of Pakistan's first Future of Retail Business Summit to 2022, which will be taking place on the 8th of March in Karachi and also virtually. My name is Rabia Garib. I'm the chief editor of the New Spaces. And the objective of today's curtain raiser webinar is to talk about a little bit about what the future of retail is, kind of give you a teaser about what to expect in the conference itself, but more importantly, to understand why the conference is so pertinent and so important right now. For this, we have three guests with us, perhaps very well known to some of you, not well known to others, but I'd like to welcome our panelists who will be guiding me through this webinar. We've got Asfandiar Farooq, who's the Senior Vice Chairman of the Chain Store Association of Pakistan, and he's also the Managing Director of Urban Brands. We've got Hamza Hashmi, who's the Chief Executive Officer of TerraBiz. And of course, we're extremely privileged and very honored to have Dr. Prakash Menon, more affectionately known as PK, and we'll learn the story behind that. Dr. Prakash is the executive mentor of the Future Retail Leaders School and a chartered member of TIE Melbourne, and he's joining us all the way from Australia. So a warm welcome to the three of you.
Thank you, Rabia. Thank you. Greetings from Melbourne. Nice and cozy in here as well. It's summer here, but thank you.
And for you, I should have actually just said, good day, mate. But you know, the participants who are joining the webinar are perhaps from the retail industry itself and from the digital side, because there's so many aspects to what the future of retail actually looks like. And, you know, perhaps it has changed drastically in the past several years, but I think that one catalyst that has kind of pushed things on the, over the edge is the pandemic. Because now everything, everyone, every brand is forced to become in an almost constant hybrid state. And what does this hybrid state look like? And how does push and pull from online and from digital strategies affect and impact footfall in the physical space? And that's what is so incredibly exciting about what brands are trying to do and what brands have successfully done, and create a kind of a knowledge share platform so that everyone can benefit from this knowledge. So the format of this webinar is such that I'll ask a couple of questions, and we'll keep it very light. And all the questions will be about what to expect in the summit itself. So I'm going to go to Hamza Hashmi first. Hamza, why is Future of Retail so relevant right now? And what was the concept and thinking behind planning the conference?
Thanks, Rabia. So the idea of the conference from my point of view was that, as a founder of a conference producing company, I am always on the lookout for some new ideas which have great potential, which has a great, players in the market, which has a great audience, and it makes business sense also, to that sector as well as to the conference or any event built around it. So actually, to tell you the truth, I was planning my marketing conference, and retail could have been a part of that. But I was luckily introduced to Rana Tariq Saab, who is the chairman of the Chain Store Association. And then as we met and we discussed the contours of the conference, it dawned upon me that actually the retail is a subject which is not to be dealt with previously, but it is a subject, it's a world on its own. So that's why a whole dedicated annual conference should have been planned rather than a part of the whole marketing ecosystem. And it's a big enough conference. It's a big concept actually. And for that, when I delved deep into it with the help of my colleagues at Chain Store Association, Aswan Bhai and Tariq Saab and others, so it was very clear to me that it requires and it demands a full-fledged event of its own. So that was the idea. So yeah. So this is one thing. If I may continue. And the other part was that so that it has a market. I was awestruck by the fact that only CAP which is just a 2.5 years old or maybe 3 years old organization. It has a huge membership base of celebrated brands, more than 200, and a large number of people are employed. About 100,000 or maybe more. So it was very clear that it would make a commercial sense as well as it would make us contribute to the thought process to take the things forward.
Right. Or market response up to kya hai from various brands and companies? Do you sense a lot of excitement?
This is phenomenal because this particular conference in Karachi, I think, is taking place after a gap of so many years. Earlier, there had been one major such event, but it discontinued after 2018, perhaps. So, and the retail is fundamentally changed after the COVID. So, all the new subjects, new players, and the new business dynamics have set in. So the response from all sectors, whether it is from the organized retail, from the Kiryana stores, from the supermarket chain stores, from apparel brands, from footwear, from the retail tech, from technology. So all the players are contacting us, and either they are part of the speaking panel or the sponsorship panel, or in all likelihood they will be attending the event as well. So we have forged a good partnership. Of course, CAP is the strategic partner, but then we have also developed an understanding with the Pakistan FinTech Association, which is playing a major part, and they are showcasing one of their own sessions. And then we have Badr Khushnood, Chairman Pasha, and the Pasha itself. Badr will be speaking, and the Pasha is also encouraging its members to not only participate, but also put up their stalls because many retail brands will be coming there. And equally important is the role of AF Ferguson's, which is Pakistan's preeminent audit firms and consulting firms, and they are helping us in forging a dedicated session on the regulatory landscape.
Okay.
The details will be shared shortly by Aswan Bhai, but these are the salient features, and plus the attraction of inviting these celebrity speakers from abroad. For example, Steve Dennis and our very own PK. PK, by the way, has been already known to the Pakistani professionals, but a participation of such eminent speakers from abroad has really lent credence to the organization and the name of CAP and the membership behind it. So it is going to be successful. Now the challenge is to make it, organize it in a way that people not only learn from it and they get good networking opportunities, they build contacts, and it is executed in a way that people look forward to the future editions of it. So we're trying for that.
Great, thanks, Hamza. Aswinder Sahab, I'd like to move to you. A Chain Store Association of Pakistan 2.5 साल में जितनी dynamism के साथ अपने growth पकड़ी है. I mean, this is incredible. Tell us a little bit more about the Chain Store Association of Pakistan.
Thank you, Rabia. Great to be here. Good to see Hamza and PK and you as well. Just a little bit about, I mean, it's a good question. I mean, actually, a lot of people, I think, don't know about the Chain Store Association of Pakistan, or CAP in short. It's relatively new. But I think it was created, I think over 3 years ago. A bunch of us co-founded it, and because we realized that retail in Pakistan was very fragmented, and retail has evolved also over time, and you've got a lot of organized retail brands, organized retail businesses that sort of are operating as chain stores or across the country, and we need to all come together to sort of figure out how to take this forward. And interesting enough, I mean, during COVID, our sort of community really strengthened and really expanded as well, because due to the lockdowns and other issues related to the pandemic, we all came together and sort of wanted to figure out how to navigate. We did all kinds of things. We sort of, figured out what the best way forward is. We distributed 5 million masks in Pakistan. We got together and we spoke to the government about what the best way forward to regulate and enforce sort of the COVID SOPs and multiple things like that. So we work on a variety of areas, actually, not just obviously the pandemic was a sort of a once in a lifetime event which we had to tackle together, but we also partner with many private sector organizations, various public sector institutions on how to create a conducive business environment, training and development of human capital, work on technological advancements, on e-commerce, on multiple things. And we work with the ministries and private sector organizations like, as Hamza Bhai mentioned, Pasha, Pakistan Fintech Association, and many others. So, and we're really excited because we have a good community and it's growing day by day. Currently has about 200 retail brands, and in Pakistan, I think, and this is all across different subsectors, like hypermarkets, superstores, fashion, footwear, electronics, jewelry, pharmacies. So, and as we know in Pakistan, it's all these sort of subsectors of retail are growing very fast and also are organizing themselves in their own businesses. So it's important sort of to come together, put our heads together, and work on initiatives. And I think the Future of Retail Summit, I think, is a great opportunity for us to partner and to take that conversation forward and to move the ecosystem forward. And we're really happy to be a part of it and happy to be here today to talk about it.
Absolutely. Can you just talk us through why you selected the themes of the conference itself? Who are some of the speakers who you are expecting, most excited about? Conference flow kya hai aur uske bare mein?
Sure, I'll be happy to. Obviously, the themes were, I mean, we discussed them with Hamza Bhai and his team, and we sort of looked at sort of the landscape at the moment in the ecosystem. And so in Pakistan and like many other countries, I mean, retail has been evolving very quickly and even faster in the post-COVID environment. And technology has been playing the role of the catalyst and enabling the domestic retail businesses, both offline and online, to really catch up quickly with other more developed economies. And we felt that it was, in order to successfully sort of charge ahead, we felt it was important to bring industry leaders and stakeholders on one page and through this event, for example. So ranging from mall operators to merchants, policymakers to tech firms, financial service providers, logistic companies, everybody, whoever is sort of, because such as Hamza Bhai also mentioned, it's a very large ecosystem. And so the themes came out of that. And the collective idea behind it was to sort of look at sort of 4 major themes. First, we have shopping and improving the entire customer experience through technology and other means. Then there's e-commerce, of course. Now it's growing very fast in Pakistan due to the pandemic and otherwise, and due to customer behavior, as well as its close linkage with brick and mortar retail. So that the lines are blurring between the two, we feel. So that's very important. And this is, of course, payments. This is a space that's we see a lot of innovation happening. And then we have the supply chain from end to end, including last mile delivery. And these are key ingredients for business success in the retail industry, we feel. So these are 4 themes. Sort of within these themes, we've sort of collectively come up with and obviously invited speakers and panelists to talk about these themes and obviously what they bring in terms of their knowledge and their outlook on the future. And if you allow me, I'll sort of take you through the speakers.
Of course. Because so, after all, the conference has that the themes also, and then who are we learning from?
Absolutely. So there are a lot of established people who in the industry and around the industry, starting with Mr. Nadeem Hussain. He's the chairman of the Pakistan Fintech Network, and he's been involved with the banking and payments and startups as well. And he understands the landscape very well. He'll be talking about the future of the brick and mortar store in the age of payment technologies and new business strategies. On the another space, we have Mr. Amir Paracha, who's the chairman and CEO of Unilever Pakistan, and he'll be talking about the new consumer and the future of FMCG. Then we have we wanted to bring in the malls, because the mall culture in Pakistan is also developing very fast. And one of the leaders, and actually I would say the leader in this space, is Dolman Group, and their director, Faisal Nadeem Riaz, will be speaking on transforming malls for the digital age. So that's a really interesting area, I feel, that is from a retail standpoint very important, as we see now a couple of dozen big malls and then many medium and small malls coming into and changing the landscape. Right. Ms. Seema Aziz, many of you might know about her. She's the founder and managing director of CFAN Private Limited, which operates several brands, famous brands such as Barize, Chenier, and Kesaria, and a lot of others under its umbrella. And she will be, she's been in the industry since it started getting organized about 4 decades ago. And we've invited her to talk about developing a culture of innovation over time and manufacturing high quality fabric brands that people love. So, because fabric, as we know, fabric and textile is a huge business in Pakistan.
Absolutely.
And they are one of the pioneers in this space. Those speakers will and a few others will come together for a panel discussion as well. We have the founder and chief executive officer of Khadi, Mr. Shamoon Sultan, will be joining that panel. Tariq Mehboob, who Hamza Bhai was talking about, he's the chairman of CAP and the CEO of Royal Tag, a menswear brand. And these two are very involved in the whole retail ecosystem and have a ton of experience. I think it'll be great to talk to them and hear from them. Absolutely. That's in the panel. That's sort of the first session we'll be kicking off with that. Then moving to e-commerce a bit, there'll be Badr Khushnood, who's the chairman of Pasha, and he's been associated with e-commerce in different capacities over the past several years. He's the co-founder of Fishery and Bremers, and he's also been associated with Google, Facebook, and Twitter for the last few years, previously. Then payments will come into play, as Hamza Bhai mentioned. Pakistan Fintech Association will be having a session on the payments ecosystem, on rewarding and retaining customers, and buy now, pay later also will be covered in that session. So we'll be looking at payments there, and as well later on in the day. There's a big segment of retail in Pakistan, which is the department stores and the hypermarkets. And there's a very famous name by the Al Fatah, which is based in Lahore in Punjab primarily, and they're very large, and they're one of the pioneers also in this space. And their CEO, Mr. Anis Iqbal, will be joining us, and we'll be in the event we'll be having a interview and a fireside chat with him about how they've achieved so much as entrepreneurs and how they've shaped retailing and the brands they've created, and how they've become one of these big giant in this space.
Right.
I think that would be a real learning for a lot of people who are looking at this space and also looking at scaling and what it takes to go through this journey in Pakistan as retail. As was mentioned, we're hoping to we obviously plan to have a roundtable on the retail and its regulatory landscape. And that will be organized by the partners AF Ferguson. And I'll come to that a bit later, or the significance. Moving to the another session on supply chain. And there we'll have our good friend PK will be talking about supply chain and the retail game changer. We also have the president of TCS, Saira Awan Malik, who will be talking about 3PL and fulfillment, the delivery experience, and which is the backbone of e-commerce and retail as a result. And we'll also hopefully be having a plan to have a panel discussion on this as well with other speakers. We'll also be covering quick commerce in this event, and because that's also related to retail and e-commerce, and that's a very sort of innovative and fast evolving space.
Right.
Moving on, I mean, we'll have, as Hamza mentioned, we'll have Steve Dennis, our international keynote speaker, talking about remarkable retail, how to win and keep customers in the age of Amazon, Alibaba, and digital disruption. And I think this will be very pertinent for Pakistan as well, to sort of look at how we can sort of leapfrog and move forward in this space. And sort of linked to that is will be Nahid, which is also a famous and prominent department store in Karachi, and they have a very strong presence online as well. And we'll be sort of looking at their case study of omni-channel and e-commerce with their director and CEO Mansab Abrar. I know it seems like a lot, and I think I'm very excited about all these areas we'll be covering. And then we have sort of looking at the retail through machine learning and AI and analytics side of things with Usman Barkat, who's the Chief Innovation Officer at Algo. Okay. And I think that's going to be also very important from a thought leadership perspective and learning and using and applying technology. And based on the roundtable I was referring to earlier, Asif Haroon from AF Ferguson, the partner tax services, will be sort of discussing the highlights and the recommendations that will come out of that roundtable, which I think are important. That will be sort of towards the end of the final session. Okay. So that's about it from my side based on the agenda we have planned.
No, I was trying to gauge from your face as to which session made you the most excited, but I think it was pretty comparable for all of them. And as I was going through the agenda and the names, even from the technology side, you've presented a lot of names which have been around to see the evolution of change, which is very important when you're talking about things at this level where you are going to come and share the experience and the wealth of knowledge, and very, very Pakistan centric. And I think that's extremely exciting. One last question I have, Asfandiar, is sure. The roundtable you talked about. What kind of stakeholders are you expecting, and why are these stakeholders so relevant and pertinent for the industry?
Thanks. That's a good question. I mean, it's very important because if you're wondering why we have that. Yeah. Actually, I'd like to give some background on that. For the past few years, the government of Pakistan has had a special focus on sort of documenting the retail trade in Pakistan and its supply chain and its value chain across the country. And that's sort of also evident from the ongoing point of sale integration drive by the Federal Board of Revenue and other sort of initiatives they've been taking. So as a result, as sort of retail has been scaling and evolving in Pakistan, there have sort of over time, many taxation-related challenges sort of have come into play, and retailers are facing. And there's also been sort of an uneven playing field sort of issue, and multiple issues that people are facing. And I think in terms of compliance and sort of making sure they can scale their businesses easily, and the ease of doing business aspect and the cost of doing business. So we thought it was very important sort of to look at this in a dedicated way. And because retail in Pakistan is segmented into two tiers, sort of based on size as per the government. And then you have various subsectors that I was referring to earlier, like clothing, footwear, superstores, hypermarkets, electronics, jewelry, pharmacies, and many more. So, and we need to find ways to address their specific issues, subsectoral issues, so that businesses eventually, I mean, essentially, they should be able to grow easily and also generate more taxes for the country along the way. So I think it's a common goal, but sort of we have to work on it together. And the regulatory landscape is evolving very quickly. And I think it's important that the perspectives of both the industry and the policy makers are shared with each other. And because the goal is a common one, as I mentioned, and there should be a conducive environment in order for the sector to scale, and the entire economy should be documented while doing so, and in a sort of a very coordinated manner, I think. Absolutely. And so we'll have in addition to industry leaders who will also be attending the conference and speaking, we have invited representatives of the FBR and the Ministry of Commerce, and also prominent chambers of commerce and industry to join us, and we're hoping to have sort of a roundtable to discuss all these issues in an organized way. And AF Ferguson will, of course, be leading that discussion and as the partner. Thank you.
All right, excellent. Hamza, I have a quick question from you, and then I'm going to address Asfandiar with one more one more brief comment I want, and then we're going to move on to PK. So who's partnering with the conference and what is their role?
Okay.
And that's yeah.
All right. So Rabia, we have talked about enough about the role of BOI, AF Ferguson's Pakistan FinTech Association, and of course Pasha. And apart from that, we are usually supported by the preeminent, industry organizations and associations. For example, Marketing Association of Pakistan is helping us. They will be promoting this event to their members, and we'll be holding out some special discounts for them. Then we have the Chartered Financial Analyst Association. We'll be approaching them also. CFA Association is one such an organization. And the Lahore chapter of the Marketing Association of Pakistan is also one partner. ACCA has been usually, partnering us with all our initiatives. So these organizations will of course be promoting the event to their members, and we'll be getting their members attending as well as supporting. Then the other basically two important media partners that we have, I would like to make a mention of them also. One is the Business Recorder, which is country's preeminent business newspaper. And then we have Profit Magazine, which is run by Mr. Babar Nizami, who will also be conducting one of the sessions as a moderator. So these are the organizations. As far as the sponsorship or the partnership support that we have got so far, that includes TCS, which, as you might know, is my first love. I worked there for a lot of time. Yeah. And so I'm very glad that I'm coordinating with Qasim Awan over there, and very happy that to host Ms. Saira Awan, who's the president of the organization and a major, biggest player in the logistics fraternity. So TCS is one of the partners. Then we have support from Naheed, from Al Fateh stores, and Keynote is there, and then we have one more partner I'm forgetting. Yeah, Algo. Algo is a retail tech partner. So far these are confirmed, but many are in the pipeline. And since we have time, so we're hoping to announce their name once their confirmations are received. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I would encourage all those who are attending and all those who are watching this Curtain Raiser webinar, go through the agenda, challenge whatever you want, but I can guarantee you that this kind of content is extremely pertinent, very relevant, and very fair for the learning that we want the audience to go away with. And from that, as for the one last question to you, what are 3 takeaways the audience can expect to learn from FOR '2022?
That's a tough one. I mean, I can only give sort of my opinion on this. I think fundamentally, the Future of Retail Summit will sort of provide a forum for all the businesses, of all sizes and professionals, sort of to learn from each other and shed light on sort of, I think 3 things that, again, I guess I could say is, one would be where the retail ecosystem is at the moment, sort of where we see it going. I mean, obviously it can go in different directions, but I think where it's going on in its current trajectory, and what needs to be done to keep it on the right track. I mean, this is on the businesses level, and as well on a sectoral or industry level as a contribution to the economy. So I'm really looking forward to learning from the fantastic lineup from Pakistan and the international keynote speakers like PK and Steve Dennis on the variety of topics like we talked about enhancing the customer experience, supply chain, retail technologies, payment trends, logistics, and operational excellence, and many more. So I think there's a lot going to be going on, and really looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Hamza, and thank you, Asfandiar. I want to call out on PK now, and I want to give you an official welcome to the webinar, to all the hospitality that we can muster up in the virtual scenario from Pakistan. You've already been to Pakistan and you've worked with businesses here. Uske baare mein to we will talk about, but I'm more interested, PK. What's the story behind calling you PK whereas your name is actually Dr. Prakash Menon, so we should actually be calling you PM. But why PK?
Thank you. First of all, Rabia, thank you. Good afternoon or greetings. I don't know what, yeah, it's good afternoon for you guys. So everyone, so people on the panel, everyone's on the webinar. So warm greetings. I feel very much at home because I was spoiled rotten in Lahore with all the kebabs. So I still have amazing memories of Pakistan.
Okay.
So this is almost like a dream come true because that was kind of the unfinished business in a way, Rabia, that I couldn't, because of COVID and everything else, that we couldn't come back.
Right.
But to answer your question, why the name PK? PK is not my name. So as you know, Australia, everything gets shortened. Vegetables become veggies, and you know, everything big. So it so happened to be that when I was initially in Sydney, Australia, and then came to Melbourne on a promotion. This was this company that I was working with. So one of my colleagues started calling me PK, and there is a chewing gum brand called PK. Okay, so I thought this guy was pulling my leg because he said, "Are you pulling my leg?" No. This is the central character of this book by Bryce Courtney, The Power of One, and it's spelled P-E-E-K-A-Y. So I said, "Oh, that sounds very important," and then the name kind of stuck there, and Prakash became PK. So that's what half the world have. All my friends call me PK. So someone calls me Prakash, I'm thinking, well, that's very formal. Who's this? Yeah. So PK it is.
Well, we're honestly very, very honored to have you part of the webinar also and part of the conference and summit itself. Very quickly,
thank you. It's my privilege. Yeah.
Very quickly, PK, you know, where is the future of retail headed for a country like Pakistan or for a region like the subcontinent, where you are very well aware what the challenges are like? What does the future look like? What does the immediate future look like?
Okay. You mind if I just share some slides? Is that okay with you, Rabia?
Please go ahead.
Yeah. I might just do a bit of show and tell as well. This way I can talk to the slides.
You're a visual storyteller.
I think yeah, it just comes in handy, you see, when I talk to the slides. So
absolutely.
Yeah, you can see the slides. Yeah, I suppose. Yeah.
And so, what a handsome photograph that is, PK.
Thank you. Well, thank you. That's the camera. You see, camera trick. So answer your question. I've traveled extensively, Rabia, when I was based in Dubai for a few years, and in my travel in Pakistan and every other place around the region. So essentially, if I look at it, retail, there are two major assets. Any retail, okay, two assets predominantly. One is called inventory. Doesn't matter online, offline, bricks and mortar, in department store, hypermarket, doesn't matter. One is inventory, and the second one is people. That's pretty much what retail, the two biggest assets are. Inventory can be the biggest asset or the biggest nightmare if the retailer doesn't know how to manage it. Right. Because you have, I use the analogy of cholesterol. Cholesterol, you know, you have good cholesterol and bad cholesterol. Good cholesterol is good, but bad cholesterol is like aged inventory. Right. A lot of people think that it's someone else's problem and it'll go under the carpet and it'll disappear. No, it won't. It's a CEO's nightmare. Okay, so you will, I mean, Asfandar, all these guys will know cash flow. So the bad cholesterol can impact your kidneys, liver, heart, everything else. So, and there are a lot of metrics when it comes to managing inventory, because it's not, people talk about retail, you know, I call it the front end. Sales is important, of course, customer service, all that is important. But no one talks about, very seldom, very few people actually want to talk about the core, which is the vertebrae. And we touched on supply chain. Supply chain is not just dirty trucks and transport or warehouses. It's the vertebrae of the human body or retail, end-to-end, idea to cash. So if you get your supply chain humming, then everything else will flow beautifully. Arms and legs will move. So what I find fascinating is that Pakistan is a very young, dynamic. I mean, my interactions with all the professionals there, amazing. I mean, they're like dynamic group of people that I met. But then it goes down to, you know, people at the end of the day. So you can have smart systems, smart technology, but the system is only as good as the person sitting behind the system. As they say, rubbish in, rubbish out. You put in whatever you feed in is what you get out. So you need smart thinking and smart, that's where the smartness comes in. And that's where education comes into play.
Right.
I think that's where I believe that Pakistan has a huge opportunity. And this is a great way for us to, I think there was a lot of excitement, but people are very keen to wanting to learn and really to compete. And I say compete, not just in Pakistan, but to be a global player now, because everything is online now. Yeah. Pretty much, online is the happening thing anyway. So it's not like, once upon a time we can say, oh, online may be coming. It's pretty much, we are actually doing it. I'm sitting in Melbourne, you guys are in Karachi, Lahore, etc. So this is where I think there is a need, and I think it's a good time that we can introduce all these processes, educate the people, and bring them to another level altogether. That's kind of what I see.
Right. How long have you been studying this? I mean, how long have you been on the ground and in the field?
That's interesting. Okay, so I'll quickly do a quick background there. This is the where I grew. I mean, this is Mumbai. Okay, Bombay. I grew up. I came from a very average family. I know this is kind of, my father was an engineer. Said, son, no pressure, go become a doctor. Okay, as typical Indians from dad from Pakistan or India. Go become a doctor or an engineer. So because he was an engineer. So I did my bachelor's in Bombay, and then I took admission to master's in science. But my second brother got interested in hotel management. So I just gave him company. And then I was fascinated with the hotel school in Bombay. And I said, what am I doing dissecting sharks and fish and all that? So I said, leave that. And I joined this amazing group of hotels, the Taj Group. I had a pretty rapid rise. Anyway, 6 years later, I was the food and beverage manager with one of the properties. And like midlife crisis hit me, like any other profession. And so with $500 borrowed money and a dream, I came to Australia because pretty much, one was Australia loves cricket. So I'm a cricket loving fan again. So I came to Australia with cricket as one of the obsession. And I had no idea about Australia. And the other thing was Bollywood, because, that's kind of where I thought I could go and teach them Bollywood in Australia. So that's kind of what, and I did my research about Australia, Rabia. I watched Crocodile Dundee movie 5 times.
Wow.
Okay, because this Paul Hogan in that movie, the hero, like he does this to the bison, and he hypnotizes the bison. And they said, well, I can also do some black magic in Australia. So that's how I arrived in Australia 32 years ago with $500. And the only job I could get, because it was the worst recession, etc. And I survived a McDonald's, chips and a Coke. And the only job I could get was cleaning toilets. So from overnight, from 48 hours ago, I was in the top of one of the leading hotels, to in this filthy Indian restaurant toilet I was cleaning. And I'm crying, thinking, what am I doing here? I had the temptation to go back. But you know who came to my rescue? Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy, the actor. The movie coming to America, where he's a prince. He's got his own currency on like in his face. He goes to the US in search of his queen. That girl doesn't know that he's a prince. The girl's father owns a restaurant called McDonald's. And so he takes pride in, picks up a job as a janitor, and he's mopping the floor, typical Eddie Murphy smile. So I'm thinking, what am I doing? What's wrong with you, PK? So you can also become, with my hard work, I said, I'll get promoted, which I now did. I was now cleaning toilets at KFC. So from an Indian restaurant toilet to KFC, it's a promotion, multinational, right? So there I became a restaurant manager. I had to write a report to the US because Pepsi Cola used to own KFC, Pizza Hut those days.
Right.
I had to write a report to the US if I had 3 pieces of chicken wings left over. Why did you get your forecasting wrong? And I'm thinking, what on earth, which company did I join? 3 pieces of chicken wings. But I'm grateful I did that, because 10 years later, I was on the board of the largest department store chain called Meijer, a $3.2 billion retail giant, 1.2 million SKUs, and 70 stores they had those days. The smallest store was 100,000 square feet. The largest store was 280,000 square feet. So that's where I started my journey in retail. and folding towels and sheets. That's kind of on the shop floor. And as I mentioned, 8 years later, I was on the board. They appointed me as the director of supply chain. And I'll tell you, I could have crippled that company because I didn't have any background in supply chain. And the team did me proud. We took this company from negative $66 million profit to positive $25 million in 10 months.
Wow.
Okay, and 101 projects and a whopping $290 million profit in 3 years. I live, breathe retail supply chain. That's my, well, I suppose my chairman and my CEO, I've had some amazing teachers, mentors, and that's kind of my obsession with retail, really, because the very first question, because Meyer was bought over by one of the largest private equity firms called TPG, Texas Pacific Group.
Right.
And the first question they asked me was, when I was appointed as a director of supply chain, what did you have for breakfast? I said, excuse me, what did you have for breakfast? I said, cereals. How many? I said, you better start counting from tomorrow. Retail is detail, as they say. So no, you have to know the ins and outs. So that's kind of where I think the journey began. And of course, as I said, the transformation happened. We absolutely turned around this broken retail supply chain, and we did the IPO. All that happened. Went from private equity to public, and then the calling had come, Rabia, that I wanted to give it back, because in my travels I found there were so many faces I saw, and I was very fortunate. I've had some great teachers and mentors, but I wanted to give it back. And that's kind of the fascination and that hunger for wanting to learn more. And I said, because you never stop learning, you have to unlearn and learn, unlearn and learn. And that obsession is what has now got me on to write a few books and all of that. So yeah.
I want to ask you about those books, but just before I do, I just want to let the audience know, in case you're thinking that this
Rabia, you're frozen, I think.
We wanted to establish that one-to-one learning is.
Are you there, Rabia? So I think Rabia is actually frozen. I think yeah. So okay, what? Yeah. What?
I think she's having connection issues.
Yeah. So what I'll do, I'll just quickly, then I might just wait for Rabia. Anyway, I'll just go through some of the things that's okay. What I find is, Rabia, that in my travels, like I said, we are no longer in the information age, because information is in the hands of everyone, okay? So we've gone past the information age. So if you look at the screen here, we've gone from this so-called industrial age, which is management by instructions, to then coming across to Rabia's back. Hello, Rabia.
Yeah.
Okay, you were asking a question. I just thought I'll take over.
I was just trying to.
No, I think there's network issues there. So went from management by instructions to MBO, which is management by objectives. And we now come into the 21st century, which is management by values. So I think what I suppose the point here I'm making is we are in the age of ideas, okay, and conceptual age. And for that, you have to play this game where it's no longer, you need to actually think about innovation and position ourselves as the Khalifa, the Burj Khalifa, which is the tallest building in the world. Because there are many tall buildings in Dubai, for example. For us to play this game, we have to position ourselves as an authority. And for that, you have to be the authority. So what we're going to do is this, the plan for us with Asfander Bhai and Hamza and the team. So we are going to have, the plan is to actually have retail education that we want to introduce into Pakistan. And we are talking about pretty much not only the technical skills, but also the adaptive skills, which will actually help us to absolutely create top-notch retail professionals, not only in Pakistan, but on the global platform. And for that to happen, we need, first of all, the technical skills. So you can see retail mastery. So We talk about retail strategy, retail acumen, merchandise planning, store execution, retail negotiation, retail analytics, supply chain. And I'll just give you a flavor of this. So this is strategy, for example. We've got all the different, I mean, very much like all the details, you know, getting all the components right, strategic profit model. We talk about business acumen. How do you become a great buyer? So you can, you know, you go from a good buyer to an exceptional buyer. It's a very comprehensive curriculum. Merchandise planning. I mean, you guys probably know what assortment planning and, you know, width versus depth, all these different components, which are very much a key part of the whole, you know, in this game. Then we'd look at store management. How do you become a great store manager, for example? Okay. So this again becomes a very much a key part of this for any retail professional. Then you take fact-based negotiation. Okay, that's another component which is very much a key part. Again, a lot of in-depth. It's a curriculum is pretty comprehensive. Equally, then we look at winning formulas. You know, looking at 108 formulas. So pricing and margin formulas, business formulas, productivity formulas, financial formulas, supply chain formulas, store operations formulas. There are 108 formulas which every retail professional, regardless of whether you work for hypermarket, supermarket, small retail or large format stores, you have to know this. This is not a nice to know skill. It's a must-have skill. So if you are aspiring to be a top-notch retail professional or a top-notch retailer, these are skills you can't actually avoid. And the other good thing is what we will supply chain. Of course, we will have supply chain, all the different things, what supply chain means, etc. And then we have the whole community around. This is very exciting because we will have a whole community. Rabia is back. The whole community will have, which will also, you know, there'll be a lot of interactions in the community, etc. Rabia, you had a question before because I just took over.
I'm really sorry, having some internet issues. I was just going to let the audience know that this is the kind of one-to-one learning that we get from you in the curtain raiser. This is obviously not the content of what you will be talking about in the summit itself. There's a lot more learning there, but it's different. The purpose of this and asking you these questions was just to get to know you a little bit better.
Oh, thank you. Of course, Rabia. Yeah. No, thank you. Absolutely. This is like I'm just giving a flavor of what to expect. Now, I mean, this one of the other things, Rabia, which I thought I'll just also quickly share, because that's something which I think the team, everyone will benefit. So let me just show you. So this is the other thing that you will see there is a whole community which I spoke about. This is the Future Leaders School. Briefly, just touching on that, you have comprehensive curriculum that that'll all become part of it. This is the community which Hamza, we will be very excited to have them. We'll have a special community for the conference participants. You know, so it's for free, and then you can come in and have the interaction, all the banter going on. We'll have our own chat room, and so it's going to be very exciting. So I'm going to we'll have a special forum in here. So we'll have a special community, if that makes sense.
Can I just ask a quick follow-up on the Retail Academy? How is this different than, let's say, what all these professionals do on LinkedIn or somewhere else?
Okay, that's a great question, Rabia. See, retail, like Aswanda said, it's very broad. It's very broad. Retail meaning, you can go from anything from pharmacy retailing, cosmetics, jewelry, etc., etc. But a lot of programs which a lot of people offer. Again, I'm not saying anything that those guys do. Of course, good on them. They're doing what they're doing.
Right.
But the core of retail, not many people actually want to talk about, which is the core of retail is inventory, all the things related to inventory management. So when it comes to strategy, merchandise planning, they are very specialized. So it's no fluff in there. It's like you actually have to be knowing what you're talking about. Otherwise, customer service and all the serving with a smile, all that's very important. I'm not discounting any of that, but we talk about the core, the pelvic region of the body. That is what this program will be.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
This is what Okay.
PK, if I may intervene here and
This AIDS pandemic.
ask you this question about the three fascinating books that you have written. You have written a lot more than that. But you see, your first book, and then the second one where you discussed about failure, and the third on supply chain. So a brief, of all these three books will help us.
Yeah. In fact, I think you're going to share these books, right? Supply chain is sexy. And I'm calling it supply chain is sexy because this is the tagline. People say, why? Supply chain and sexy? Well, if you put $290 million profit to the bottom line, not sales, profit, it is sexier than ever before. Right, Aswander? Okay. You will actually give a big hug as well. Say $290 million profit. So that is why it's sexy. Okay. The Oxford Dictionary means to be concerned about or to be focused on. That's basically why the supply chain is sexy. And Hamza, the other book, Fail Smart, a lot of people glorify their success stories and tell you how wonderful they are. But behind every success, there are many, many failures. I've had many failures, but those failures are nothing but learnings, So how do you take those learnings and then because that's the foundation towards success. And that's kind of what I think you're going to share those books, Hamza, isn't it?
Yeah, PK, probably I'm not able to share it, but people can find a complete mention of it at the website that we have created. So they will have a look at it. Yeah, right now it's unable to share those books. Yeah.
Sure,
but we have shown these two books and people get to see the details on the website. Okay, the other, like I said, the other books are this is the merchandise planning, supply chain, retail strategy, store management. There are 44 of them, right? So they are all comprehensive encyclopedias. That's what you will have in the academy. So we will have some fun with that. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Okay, since I've just got a message from Rabia that she is consistently getting these internet issues. So, but I don't think it makes much of a difference now because we already have come to the concluding part. So, PK, I would like to thank you very much, and all the audience who have joined us live for this session, and also those people who will be watching this program, which we will be shortly putting up on our different social media channels. I think we have concluded, enough today. I think we have created quite an excitement about the speakers who will be joining us, the topics that we'll be discussing, and the partners and supporters that have been, part of this success journey. So we all look forward to, unless Asmai, if you would want to say a few things, I would then basically conclude it and take.
No, I think we've covered everything we wanted to. I'm really excited about the event. I think it's coming along very nicely. And as we sort of talked about the various speakers, the various partners, of course, PK has just given us a teaser, which I think should also have our mouth watering for the main event. So I think we're good to go.
So, folks, before we just call it a day, I would like to invite all of you to attend the conference on the 8th of March. It will be a Tuesday, and the venue is Karachi Marriott Hotel. And as you may see it on the screen, if we come to the last page, you will find towards the end of the brochure a mention about the registration details. So, so the fees are given there, and the discounts, both the group discount as well as discount for the partner associations. For example, if you are a CAP member or a PASHA member or a Pakistan FinTech Association member, you are entitled to having certain discounts. But please be mindful of the fact that all these discounts will come to an end by the 25th of February. So better to hurry and avail and confirm your seats because discounts might still be available, but the seats we may run out of the seats. And the second thing is that appropriate COVID SOPs will be followed. So your safety is our concern also. Thank God that the incidence of the new variant of coronavirus have significantly come down in Karachi, but still all the due precautions will be taken. So the venue is fantastic, and the amenities will also be world class, inshallah. And we will have the company of great speakers. PK will be joining us from Australia. He'll be speaking live. And so you will see him in full gear, of course. And So once again, I would like to thank each one of the panelists, all the live participants, all the participants who will be watching this program later, and all the sponsors, supporters, and delegates who will be joining the conference. So thank you. With this, we come to a conclusion. Khuda Hafiz. Thank you.
Thank you. Khuda Hafiz.
Thank you, guys. Thank
Take
you.
care.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, guys. Have a nice day.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम सर। सर ये जो पीके की रिटेल एकेडमी है उसका वेबसाइट मिल सकती है? हेलो
Ji Ahmed Saab, can you hear me?
जी आई कैन सर।
Right. Ahmed Saab, are you from Allied Marketing?
जी दैट्स राइट।
कैसे हैं आप? ठीक ठाक हैं?
अल्लाह का शुक्र जी, बड़ी मेहरबानी, थैंक यू।
जी ठीक है, मैं आपको, आपका तो कॉन्टैक्ट हमारे पास है, आई विल बी प्रोवाइडिंग यू द रिक्वायर्ड डिटेल्स, भेज दूंगा मैं आपको इंशाल्लाह।
थैंक यू वेरी मच जी, वेरी काइंड।
थैंक्स सर, लुक फॉरवर्ड टू यू जॉइनिंग अस ऑन द 8th of March। आई थिंक आप ऑनलाइन ज्वाइन करेंगे?
जी इंशाल्लाह ऑनलाइन करेंगे या देखते हैं इन पर्सन, बट
इन पर्सन आए तो सर बहुत, हाँ फिर तो बहुत ही अच्छा रहेगा इफ यू कैन ट्रैवल। आप लाहौर बेस्ड है ना?
जी आई एम लाहौर बेस्ड, बट मोस्ट प्रोबब्ली ऑन दैट डेट आई विल बी इन लंदन प्रोबब्ली।
ओके ओके,
सो आई विल जस्ट सी।
चलिए, थैंक यू सर, थैंक्स अ लॉट, खुदा हाफिज़।
हाफिज़।